sort of off topic for this, but David from Atlanta, thank you.
How are you, man?
Doing well. I'm more of a writer, and
okay.
I'm glad to see you're going into that next phase of your storytelling career. What is your process for writing? How do you sit down and put the idea on paper? How do you get it out? What's your process?
For me, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how to describe it. My process, I basically get up and I just start. Back in the day, I just get up and just start. Now I get up, smoke a joint, and just start. And it's weird. I found that like weed doesn't make you any more creative. It doesn't make the writing any better. But what it does do is it knocks down the inhibitors that would prevent you from writing some shit. Like it's like there's a voice. You know, we all got that dopey voice, and it's comprised of all the other things we've ever heard and all the things we've ever read about other people doing things before we even self-apply. So you sit there and you have that voice in your head that's just like, don't do that, you're not good at that, why would you fucking do that and shit. And I find that smoking weed just gets rid of that altogether. It just kind of knocks down the inhibitors unless you try shit, where you're just like, let's give it a shot, you know. I think it makes you more of a why not person. You know, I think in life, in order to accomplish anything, particularly in art, you need to surround yourself with why not people. Because there's a lot, the world's full of fucking why people, left and right. Throw a rock at somebody and say why, where you're just like, hey, I'm gonna do something. Like why? Why would you do that? Why? You gotta find those people like, why not? Let's give it a shot. And that's what I've only been lucky because I've surrounded myself with a whole fucking bunch of why not people who are just either stupid enough or fucking lazy enough or just adventurous enough to be like, let's give it a shot. It sounds fun. So the why not aspect of smoking weed is really nice because all that shit goes away. Self-doubt, any sort of like, don't do this, or it's been done before, people say you're no good at this. That's the first thing. That's the biggest hurdle. Honestly, I think that's where writer's block comes from, is self-doubt. That's really the only enemy of the writer. It's the only kryptonite, is that voice inside, because it's subjective, right? It's crazy that you would ever go, I'm not good at this. There's no bar, there's no pattern, it's individualistic. I was talking, I think I talked about it the other day, but I was talking to my kid, she watches that show iCarly, and I was watching it with her the other day, and she's calling out jokes before they happen. I was like, you see this episode? She's like, you don't see that coming? And I was like, good point. I said, my point though is if you see it coming and shit, why are you watching this? Just write an iCarly. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, just write one. Instead of watching it, writing. Writing's way more funner than fucking watching because you're in charge. You can make them do shit. You can make Carly fuck her friend. Then I remember who I was talking to and I ran it back. Sometimes it hurts to be that candid. And so I was just like, you should give it a shot. And she goes, yeah, but I almost hit her. I was like, how dare you? That is not my child. You can't say that. It is. Somebody's gonna think it sucks. Don't let that ever fucking stop you. Just go out and write. Just write it. Why not? What's the worst thing that could fucking happen? If somebody not liking it is the worst thing that can happen, I'll tell you, it's gonna happen and it ain't even bad. The worst thing that can happen is you write it and it starts World War III. Let's scale back from there. So let's say you write it and your friends are like, why would you do this? Then you get away from those why people. You go hang out and show it to people and they're like, this is awesome. Why not? We should make this ourselves. Those are the people you want to gravitate toward. So for me, I've always just been able to kind of sit down and do that. And there have been moments, just sit down and write. And the moments later in the career, you do this long enough and people tell you suck at it. You know, you hear a lot of negativity. There's a lot of positivity as well. But as a human being, like everyone else, I tend to listen to the negative rather than the positive, which is sad, but I'm trying to change that for the last 20 years. Like, listen to the positive. Why not necessarily focus on the negative stuff? So I'm trying to explain to the kid, fuck the negative. There's gonna be negative, it's gonna happen, man. But like, why would you let that stop you from playing God? Like, there's nothing more satisfying in this world than sitting down with a blank sheet of paper and creating a fucking universe. You know what God knows at that point. So I say, don't let the thought of some fucking nameless idiot out there in the world just being like, this isn't good enough for them. Sure, it's not good enough for them. This is good enough for you. It's gonna be good enough for somebody else, man. Give it a shot, just sit down, start fucking writing. And so we talked to her yesterday, and she's like, I'm almost at the end, because she was trying to ask about, like, what do you mean? How do you write it? And I was like, well, I just do like 22 pages. She's like, 22's a lot. And I was like, I want it spaced out like this. I showed her all the tricks and shit. So we talked to her last night before she went to bed, and she was like, I'm on page 20. And I was like, oh, that's that girl. That's what you fucking do. Now, problem is I'm going to read it. It's going to be terrible. But at that point, like I said, you know, I'm not going to be like, why? I'm just going to be like, hey, good for you. Keep writing. Keep writing, you know. But I don't know, I think that's always been the key. Just keep fucking writing. Get out there and also be open to suggestion. I'm a writer first and foremost, and there's rigidity to that where there's a sense of authorship. And I think I've hurt myself many times over the years by being too rigid, by being the guy that's like, I didn't come up with that idea, so I can't use that. I got my own ideas, thank you, thank you very much. And Edgar Wright, who directed Shaun of the Dead, I think I spoke about this yesterday, he worked with Spielberg. He told me the most illuminating aspects. He was in a room working with Spielberg and shit like that. So what was that like? He goes, he's very wealthy. So he was talking about like some meeting they were having, and we were working on this Tintin movie and stuff, and people are pitching ideas and shit, and he said to Spielberg, like 20 minutes after somebody put an idea out there, he'd be like, let's do that thing that Edgar was talking about. Like, that idea was actually cool, we'll do that. And Steven Spielberg is a great filmmaker because Steven Spielberg doesn't do that like, no, your idea is your idea and I got my ideas. Steven Spielberg's like, I'll take any ideas because guess what? I'm getting the credit, bitch. So, at that point you realize, why am I fighting it now? I'm gonna take good fucking ideas. And so I used to like not let people ad-lib on the movies at all, and now I let people ad-lib like crazy, you know, because I'm like, look, I'm the editor as well. If I don't like it, I'll just take it out. If it's good, I'll throw it in, I'll probably get the credit for it anyway. And I got credit for it was never more obvious than or apparent than on Red State. And I had the littlest contributor to my script. It never would have happened before, but only happened on Red State because I'm now at this place where I'm open to contribution. And it's Dave Klein, the guy who shoots the movie. He's got this little daughter named Ivy, and she's adorable. She's like 3. Dave's shooting the flick. His wife Marnie's one of the believers in the church, and so we were like, let Ivy be in it, man. She can hang out, be in the movie the whole time. So she comes, sits in the chapel and whatnot. She's throughout the scene. You see her climbing over pews. Very adorable and stuff, but totally fucking 3 years old. We're sitting outside this funeral sequence of the movie. The movie kicks off with this family driving past a church where the funeral procession is coming out, and then our version of the Westboro Baptist Church, the David Cooper 5 Points Trinity Church, they're lined up holding signs, picketing the funeral, and the signs are chanting that the motherfucker's going to hell, that Jacob Harlow is the fictional dead kid, and Jacob Harlow burns in hell and stuff. So I'm shooting this sequence, and it's kind of wide, and I'm like, I just need chatter, just start yelling shit, don't worry about what it is. Like, what's in the script? I was like, I'm not that guy anymore, just say whatever you want, just make sure it has something to do with Jacob Harlow, anything but peas and carrots. In movies, generally, when you see crowds talking, they're just going, peas and carrots, peas and carrots, peas and carrots, and I don't like that, because I look there and I'm like, they're saying peas and carrots. So I'm like, just say what you want and shit, and everybody's saying, like, Jacob Harlow burns in hell, and go to hell, you're gonna die, you're burning in hell. Everyone's chanting shit, yelling shit out. Ivy's standing there, 3 years old, and she's looking around at everybody, and nobody's really giving her much direction because she's 3. Like, I'm in that phase where I'm like, hey man, you give me your best, 3-year-old. So she's just kind of sitting there watching, and you know, the big thing is like, don't look at the camera. That's the only instruction you want for a kid, more than anything else. It's not like, hey, bring me the truth of this moment. It's like, just don't look at the fucking camera, right? So we're shooting and shit, and I see her in the monitor, and she's looking around at everybody, and all of a sudden she starts yelling. And I see her going, and I can't hear her because it's very far away. She's a little kid and shit. So after the take, I see Klein laughing. He almost drops the camera, David Klein. And so I go over. I was like, what happened? He goes, you didn't hear fucking Ivy? Ivy adding to your script? And I said, no, what did she say? He's going, she started yelling, swim down, swim down. And I go, why, man? I was like, why? And he goes, because, dude, Finding Nemo. And I go, what do you mean? He's going, she didn't have much experience with crowds or anything. She's in a crowd and everyone's yelling. And the first thing she thought of is all those fish in that net. Yelling, swim down. And he goes, you gonna leave it in? I said, fuck yes. And he goes, why? And I was going, because like, that's kind of like, that's a fun, childlike metaphor for going to hell, like swim down, swim down. And sure enough, man, we showed the movie, I think it was the third tour stop. Somebody in the fucking audience comes up to the mic and they're just like, was that kid yelling swim down? And I was like, no man, it's a religious metaphor for going to hell. We gotta get out of here, man. Thanks for coming in.